Hello all, here we are, day 21. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Phoenix Way mini live challenge. Ho. I'm Lindsay Setchell. It's really great to have you here. It's day 21. It's on our first session of our new series, which I'm going to talk to you about in a moment. Let me just go live on Instagram. There we go. Today we're going to start our new series, which is all about owner education. The last series was, and I'm just looking at all my topics, the last series was all about, the last 20 topics was all about the Phoenix Way basics. That was our philosophy, why we do what we do, all the really good foundation to why we should have regular hoof care, a bit about anatomy, a bit about trimmers, a bit about how we deal with professionals. All of those sorts of things are what we've looked at over day 20. We've looked at all kinds of things, busting myths about barefoot horses. I'm just reading some of them down. Recognizing good versus bad hoof care, empowering owners to take control of hoof care, when to call a hoof care professional. These are just some of the things. And the last one we did, which was the live yesterday, was the journey from damaged to healthy hoofs. So this next series of lives, we're going to do 50 topics, and we're going to do it's basically going to be owner education on trimming. And this first topic is all about the tools, basic trimming tools, what you need to start. Whether you're a new to hoof care, or you're just curious about the tools of the trade and what it is that you need, I think this session stroke lesson stroke mini live is going to give you an idea, a bit more of an idea of the solid understanding, I think, of the essentials. So let me know in the comments, are you trimming yourself? What's your favorite rasp? Your favorite nippers? What's your favorite tool that you use? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear your experiences. So before we dive in, let's have a look at who's here. Stella, top of the shop. Hello. Good morning. Your first today. You are indeed. Sunshine second. Good morning. I remember the change. Yes. Well done. Heather Swithenbank says, hi, everyone. I've been sent a link via Facebook about some research being carried out at the University of Liverpool about how owners' rehabilitation of laminitis. Can I put and I think you're probably going to put a link on the Phoenix page. The trouble is with links, we really have problems with external links in the page because we try to avoid people chucking loads of external links in there. However, it might be worth going in and trying, and if it's I can't think of the word. If it's a where you answer lots of questions, why can't I think of the word? It's gone completely out of my survey. There you are. That was the word. Survey. God, sometimes, Lindsay. If it's a survey, then yeah. Maybe we can. So write a little bit about it and tell us a little bit about it on the Phoenix Way. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Finding out about laminitis. And the thing is, what's so sad and almost incredibly predictable, Heather, is that they'll just talk about that they're going to talk about laminitis, but they're really just talking about the laminitis they think they are aware of, but they're not sure because they've not been able to fix it. So it's all going to be based around systemic. It's all going to be based around how that causes the lamina to tear, etc. When it's not that at all. That's all down to hoof care. However, post it up. Let's have a look. Well, it's not what we're talking about tonight. Ulrika's here. Hello. I missed a few lives. Have to work sometimes. Yes, some of us do. Catherine Brown's here. Hello, Catherine. Fiona Francis here. Hello, warriors. Good to see you, Fiona. Pia's here. Hello. Jenny Ackerstrom's here. Hello from Sweden. Dawn Lim says, wow, I made it to this early one. Hi, friends. Sarah Lou's here. Ka-chink. Hello. Fiona says, my knives, but keeping them sharp is so hard. And this is Fiona's favorite tool. And good nippers. I have GE nippers, though Lindsay says Nordic Forge are just as good, but less dollars. I should be showing a picture of Nordic Forges. Stella says, love my GEs, 14-inch loop knife and sharpener is important. Totally important. Very good. Well done. Fiona Reynolds says, hello. Heather Swithenbank says, okay, thank you. I'll try and post. Good. Marvelous. Alexandra Cameron says, hello, Lindsay. Alex here from New Zealand. Much love, much love, much love to you too. Jenny Ackerson says, rasp, mustard, Hella XL and hoof knife. Marvelous. That will be gobbledygook for anybody watching this who has never been into the world of horses' hoof tools. Aaron's here from Ireland. Evening all. Louise is here. Yendell. Hi, Batman. Here's to a TB today with the mother of all bars. Send me photos. I want to know. Louise is one of our HMB pros. Qualified last year. Absolute superb trimmer, but we call her Batman for short. It's a long story. I won't tell you why. Aston's here. Hi all. Hi from South Africa. Okay, so what were we talking about? We're talking about why the right tools matter. And oh my goodness, they so do. And if you're going to do it properly, let me tell you, and there is no other way, frankly, than properly. If you buy cheap tools, it makes it a lot harder. Funnily enough, Gary and I were only discussing this the other day about how people say, oh, the hoof is so hard, I can't get my knife in. What should I do to make the hoof softer? Well, there's not an awful lot you can do. Not there's even been research on looking at how you can soften up a horse's foot. There isn't really, and you can't really soften it up. There's two things when people say, what can I do to help the foot get softer? The foot is so hard. There's two things that are a problem there. One, lack of skills with your tools make it very hard. And two, not having the right tools. Having tools which are not sharp enough. If you've over blunted them, knives particularly are a problem. You only have to use them a few times and they begin to blunt. I'm hopeless at sharpening knives. Gary's the king of that, but you've got to have the right sharpening tool. We'll talk about that briefly in a minute. And you've got to do it the right way, which I'm not very good at. I tend to buy new knives because I'm hopeless, but I am learning to sharpen knives. Over all these years, I've still not been able to do it right. It's about quality. Unfortunately, in this life, and it happens to be the case with tools to do with hoof trimming, that you really do need to pay out to get the good quality tools. Because if you're trying to get bars off and your knife is blunt, or it's just a bit poor, or it's really not very good, it's not been sharpened properly, it's all of those things, then you're going to struggle and you're going to blame it on the foot being too hard. And in actual fact, the blame should lay squarely on the fact that your tools aren't so grand and they're probably blunt. So tools matter. If you want to be precise, and let's face it, precision counts when we're talking about horses' feet. If you want to be precise and you want to make accurate trims, you want to make that balance accurate, and you don't want to hang around. That's all about efficiency, but you want to make accurate trims, maintaining the balance, the dorsopalmar balance, the mediolateral balance, bringing those hooves down to the hard sole plane, making sure you found the hard sole plane, getting rid of those bars, etc., etc. And you're all hot on bars now. If you've seen my It's Not Rocket Science lesson from yesterday where I talked about bars, go and have a look. It's on YouTube. Proper tools allow you to have that precision and to help, obviously, therefore, great functionality in the hoof. And let me tell you this, if you don't have the right tools and you hack away and you find it difficult and it tires you out, because it's tiring anyway, then you are going to end up being put off or just not doing the right thing. And it's your body is going to be one issue, right? Fitness, where you put your body, where you put your body when you've got the tools in your hand, being handed, right-handed or left-handed or ambidextrous. All of these things affect your ability to trim, let alone having tools that aren't good enough. So you need to have the best tools, pay the money, have the best tools, the sharp tools. Knives, rasps and nippers do not last forever. And we have seen over and over people with tools that have been going on for a long time, and they change to a sharp rasp or a sharp pair of nippers or a sharp knife and can't believe it. Did you take half the foot off? Because people forget that you've got to change. You've got to change your tools. Gary and I will go through nippers at least 2 to 3 times a year, usually 2 times a year, if not more, really. That's the minimum. Rasps, every 6 weeks, or even less when you're doing lots and lots and lots of hooves. Knives, maybe 3-4 times a year. Need to sharpen them. That's how many times I would change them. And I would put up with bluntness because I can make do because I'm experienced, and that's not how it should be. But if you're sharpening, you should sharpen them every few trims. Regularly keep them sharp. And other things that get in the way of blunting your tools is when you are rasping over grit, dirt, mud. Don't do that. Clean the foot and with a wire brush. I'll mention that as part of the tools in a moment. Make sure you clean the foot, because those little bits of dirt and mud and grit are going to blunt your tools. And knives, it will chip off the edges. Nippers, it will chip off the edges. And rasps, it will just get clogged in there and it will start to chip the edges off too. Another reason to have very good tools is safety, because if you and very good and using the correct tools, because that's going to minimize your risk of injury. And let's face it, it's possible. You're using tools and they are all sharp, they should be, and you can hurt yourself. I have marks, many marks and scars. In the summertime when I'm hot and I'm wearing a t-shirt or a vest and I'm trimming and you slip, you hurt your arms, the lower parts of your arms. You can actually buy guards nowadays, in fact. But you have to be careful. So good tools hopefully will minimize the risk of injury. But if you're not experienced and you buy good tools and they're incredibly sharp, that could also increase your risk of injury. So you have to be careful. You do have to be careful. And like I mentioned, efficiency, good tools, the right tools are going to make that job faster and definitely more manageable, and especially for beginners. The faster job, oh my goodness, that is important. At workshops, when we give cadaver hooves out and we see people bring their tools to the workshops and they've had a rasp for, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, that a farrier gave them or a friend gave them or they found in the tool shed, they struggle, and we go, no, forget that. Here, have this rasp. And they go, oh my God, it's so amazing. It's important that if you're going at your horse's foot with blunt tools, with old tools, with rusty tools, you need to have the right tools for the job. And when we're starting with the basics, which is what you're doing if you're beginning to learn about hoof care, and so you damn well should, frankly, because you're the owner. And if you feel you're too old or you're too unfit, I can tell you people who are in their late 70s, early 80s and beyond who still trim, and those that would class themselves as not particularly fit. We're not talking about going out and doing hundreds of horses' feet a day or a week rather, which is what I and Gary and other pros would do. We're talking about your own horses. And of course, what makes that easier, and we will talk about this at a later time, is whether you have a horse who's likely to stand still nicely for you and well balanced. And a lot of miscommunication goes on between owner and horse, hence the reason that the horses are not that good at standing. Okay, let's have some shout outs. Oh God. Sarah Lou says, I love my Nordic forge, went through Hamish's walls like butter. Yes. Do you remember when you were trying different nippers and we said, change them, change the nippers. You must change the nippers because they're not going to work. I bought a new rasp. It's dreadful. So now I need to get a better one. Yes, you do. And we'll talk about them briefly in a moment. But the rasps that you get from DIY stores with the handle fixed on are not the rasps that you want. You want a dedicated horse rasp. Those are the ones that have the pointy bit at the end where you put a handle on, and you need to put a handle on. I'll show you those in a second. Any minute now, I'm going to share my screen and show you. But you need to put a handle on. And those, when they get blunt, you take the handle off and off they go to recycling, hopefully. There are places that will sharpen rasps, but I've never used those. I've never tried to attempt to use those, although over the years I have gone through hundreds of rasps. Ulrika says, I trim with Basili and Safe Edge, but prefer Basili. Must add rusty nippers. I used to use Safe Edge, competition rasp, and now I use Hella Legend. I use White Tang because I like it to be slightly narrower, not so heavy because it's quite wide. But yeah, I'll go through what I use in a minute. Louise says, Nordic Forge, 14-inch racetracks, Hella XL Legends, and a bad obsession with knife sharpening. Just not knife sharpening, a bad obsession with knives. Full stop. That is your obsession. This girl, I cannot tell you, is obsessed with knives. Pretty looking knives, lots of different knife handles, lots of handmade knives. She loves them. Fiona says, my husband just bought me a bench grinder to sharpen my knives, which me look I wouldn't have a clue. Oh God, show us how it's done. Andrea Grady is here. Hello from the UK. Dawn says, so what one do you recommend? I'm going to tell you any minute now. Stella says, you are as good as your tools. Yes, you are as good as your tools. And if your tools are pretty, you can get away with it, Stella, like you and I probably can, if you are experienced. Many times I've been out thinking, been out trimming, that rasp is absolutely gone and I haven't got a spare. Usually we carry spares. I haven't got a spare. I'm gonna have to order another one. And you forget for the next week. And you go out suffering with this blunt rasp, and you can cope, but it's hard work and it takes longer. So always have spares as well. GE 14 nippers, Hella rasp, Patola rasp, a lot of different knives, not worth a darn at sharpening. Some knives better than others. Oh yeah, it's true. Fiona says, my Hella rasp was lasting me a decade, trimming between 2 to 4 horses. No way. 10 years. I don't believe it. I sharpen it by soaking in vinegar for 3 days, then pouring baking soda and water over it to stop the reaction. Magic. I love it. I love that. I think you could win the prize for the rasp that's lasted the longest and perhaps stayed the sharpest. Who knows? Catherine Brown says, I struggle with a knife. Mine is older, but I haven't used much in the past. I have trouble understanding how to sharpen it. The same with my nippers. I do use a new rasp every couple of months. Gary on the workshop does a little bit of sharpening if you go to a workshop, which I hope you do, and he explains how to do that. That is important. And like I say, I'm not very good at it. Danielle Reek says, hello. Sorry I'm late to the party. Hi from PTL in Cornwall. Hello. Pensilva track livery, that stands for. What do you think of Japanese Shinto rasp? I have never used one. And I can't tell you much about them. It's like the Cody James rasps. I can't tell you a great deal about those because I've not used them. I mean, I can tell you about them, but I've never used them because I've never felt the need. And I tell you something, when you get into doing what we do, it's very, very geeky and nerdy a little bit to go out and buy all the tools, lots of them. We'll talk about them in a sec. But the important thing really is that you don't really need a lot. You need a good rasp, a good pair of nippers, and a good knife. You need to a wire brush and a hoof pick, and that's it. That's on my stand, and I trim all horses from teeny tiny to extremely big, and that's all I have because I haven't got time or the energy to carry around lots and lots of tools. And when you become experienced, you don't need lots of tools. However, I understand when you're trying to get there. Charlotte says, sorry, I forgot it was early. Evening all. Hope you have a fabulous night out with your mum. She's not well. Mummy's not well. She's poorly, and so she can't come. Tim and I are going on our own. I love my Hoof Hobel, a German rasp. Don't know if it's... I don't know that. I don't know that. Right, I'm going to share my screen. Where have I put it? Here. Okay, can you see that? I hope you can see that. Let me just check that you can. Yes, you can. All right. Now, oh God, where have you gone? I've got too many things open. Okay, we're going to start with knives. Now, this is not the knife that we would recommend. And yet people do sometimes bring them to the workshops. And we do try and say to people, please don't bring this knife to the workshop. Let me just put StreamYard over there so I can see what you're looking at. Because they're sharp on both sides. This bit's sharp here. Can you see it? Can you see my... I'm sorry, I can't make it bigger. This bit's sharp here and this bit's sharp here. And you need both hands when you're doing knife work for the most of the work you're doing on the horse's foot. And so if it's sharp on both sides, which bit do you push? So we always say, no, right, what you're going to do, you're going to disappear off the screen. Don't want that one. Right, these are the knives that we would use. So I use a loop knife, which is called a double S. I don't actually think this is a double S, but this is what we use. And you've got to be careful with these loop knives because some of them are very narrow. Some of them have hoof pick bits on the end. Wouldn't recommend that. And some of them have their blade chamfered on the inside. Weirdly, some have them chamfered on the outside. And so you've got to know. So I use double S. It literally is double S. That's the name of it. And that's what I use. And I think that's what Gary uses. This is another, and the beauty about loop knives, okay, loop knives, a lot of people don't like them. Loop knives are ace for bars. You can, I only use a loop knife. I can use other knives, but I only use a loop knife because I won't carry lots of tools around with me, as I've just told you. And so you can use a loop knife if you're skilled with it on the sole as well to clear the sole. But of course, we're doing nipper dragging, etc. as well. So this is a single blade knife, and this is more of a straight blade, and this is a diamond knife. And this is where you work your knife around the hoof. Now, some people, and they're handed usually, and you have a right-handed or a left-handed, obviously. I don't know how many other kind of handed you would have. And some people have probably Louise is watching right now. I'll bet she's got both a right-handed and a left-handed knife. I'll bet she has. I'll bet she has a loop knife. She'll have one of these straight knives, and she'll have one that's like this. This is a double S. This is a more of a scooped single blade knife. These are pretty good. Out of these two here, I prefer this one, which has a bit more of a curve to it, particularly good for bars and particularly good for sole clearing. So that's a double S. Here is the best kind of sharpener as a little mobile sharpener. I'm sure Fiona, when she starts using her bench grinder, she's going to get super sharp tools. But these pencil sharpeners or pen sharpeners. These are pretty good. These are the ones that Gary uses, not me, because I'm absolutely hopeless at it. Okay, so moving on. We'll have a look at the nippers in a minute. Moving on. This is, let me just move these nippers down so they're not in the way. This is a Hella Legend. And a Hella Legend is a specifically for horses' hooves. And this is what they call a white tang. When you read the Hella Legends, you'll hear reds, blacks, XLs, greens, white. This is the white tang. And what it means is that bit there that you put the handle on is just painted white, because it just defines what rasp this is. Rasps have two sides. They have a very what we call a rough side, and then on the other, this is the rough side you can see at the moment, and on the other side is a fine side, and you use both, and the edges are serrated as well, which don't tend to use those. But the difference between the Hella Legend rasps is the width of them and the weight of them, mainly, so that you get more or less little sharp, little cutting sharp, I don't know what to call them, blades. I don't know what do you call them? raspy bits. They change depending on what you've got. Now you can get, there are different makes that GE do them, Diamond do them, I think Save Edge do them. There's loads of different ones. I've tried 3 or 4 different types, and I lumped on the Hella, mainly because they don't clog up so much with mud, and they're easy to clean. But you must always have a rasp handle. Do not, whatever you do, not have a rasp handle. That's not safe. I have smacked myself in the face and shins more than I can tell you with my rasp. It hurts. And if you fall, and you fall wrong, and this pointy bit, which is pointy, gets into somewhere it shouldn't, it hurts. And also, if the horse stumbles and the pointy bit gets somewhere it shouldn't, it hurts. This is a safety. And in fact, so much so that at workshops, not the international ones, but the UK ones, we always, in the goodie bags, put a handle in, so that because we walk around going, put a handle on, you don't want to do that, do you? It's not good news. Right, so that's the rasps. Now let's just move all these. Oh, look at all these lovely things down here. Let me just move them. Hold on. Yeah, you probably know what all those are, but let me just make this bigger. This is a Nordic Forge. Actually, I don't know whether it is a Nordic Forge because it doesn't have the print on it. But this is what a Nordic Forge 15-inch pair of nippers looks like. 15-inch, biggest kind of nippers you can get. And why? Because if you're a little lady like me with little hands, you want as much leverage as possible. You can't open your hands really wide, but you can move your hand up and down the lever arms depending on what you're doing, and to get the grip, and then as it comes in, you can go further up. You can use 2 hands with them. It's really easy. Why 15-inch? Because they have the most lever force. So that means that, because they have the longer lever arms, that means then that you can get through even the toughest of feet. But there are techniques in using all of these tools that I'm showing you now. It's all very well getting them, but then you've got to learn the techniques to do them. And again, on the 15 and 10-day challenges, particularly the 10-day challenges, we teach you about tools and how to use them. And we go through an entire session, an entire group session that lasts anything up to 2 hours, where we go into detail about the guidelines of that trim and how you use your tools effectively. And so you don't tire yourself out and you don't hurt yourself. So Nordic Forges are good. Louise said she uses 14-inch racetrack. You can get very used. I wouldn't go any low. I wouldn't go any smaller than 14-inch. People do. People go for smaller nippers, even nippers that are sort of this size. I'm going to talk about those in a minute because they don't look the same, do they? You think because you've got small hands, you're a lady, you get the smaller nippers. It's counterproductive. Because actually what happens in that instance is that you end up working harder, because you've got shorter lever arms, and so you need more muscle. And it's just not worth doing it. And up here, this area here, which is the head where the jaws are, that's important that they are nice and wide. You get some cheaper nippers that are not as wide as this, and therefore you can't get round the hoof as much as you should be able to. So nippers, important. Spend your money. Nordic Forges aren't quite as expensive as diamonds. GEs actually are the most expensive, I think. I don't know whether diamond are about comparative to Nordic Forges, but because you go through, we go through more than one, and I've used the GEs, but they are expensive and you get very precious about them. I get precious about these, but you have to change them. They go blunt. So personally, I have never had a problem with these, and I love them. These are bonsai nippers, and Stella, which she's watching, actually was one of the first people in the group to say bonsai nippers for bars, for big, hard, chunky bars. I don't use them because I don't really need them, but you might, because you might not be quite as proficient and strong as we are and as skilled. And so bonsai nippers that you can see, they're slightly different, and they're quite small, and they get in along the side of the bar, and they're quite good bonsai nippers. We've got a pair because we bought a pair and have been trying them out. They're not bad, I have to say, for some bars. Okay, what other things can you have that I don't? Gary does, but I don't. This is a radius rasp, or a version of. You can see how curved it is, and it fits into your hand. This is really good for finishing off the roll around the bottom of the foot, but you've got to use it properly. Again, on the challenges, we explain that. You can't just go back from side to side. That's not going to work. It's curved like that for a reason. You usually have the black ones, which I think are the rougher ones. Is that right? And the white ones that are the smoother ones, I think. I don't quote me on that. This here is what we call a sole stroke bar rasp. And they are basically rasps that have been bent in this fashion. I think Louise might have one of these. I'm pretty sure she does. I used to have one. I wouldn't know where it is because I don't use it anymore. But they are there to help you exfoliate the sole and the bars. Again, they need to be kept sharp, but you have to be careful with knives, nippers, and these kind of things that you do not groove into the hard sole plane and take away stuff you don't need to. There's no need. You are following the hard sole plane. Of course, when you have compaction, that's a problem. This little thing, where are you? Can you see me? Here it is. La, la, la. I have this on my desk to show people. Not only is it a good stress reducer, but it's a spongy sanding block. And these are really great. And I love them, but they're really great to really just scuff up really nice, tidy, give it a little bit of a, on the outside of the hoof wall, bit of a scuff, and then just around on the Mustang roll. These are brilliant. I would have them with me all the time, except they get lost. They're very light. They blow away. Dogs run off with them and chew them up. And I'm fed up of replacing them, and they get filthy dirty. But if you can look after them, put them in a nice place for them where they don't end up just blowing off or being run off with by dogs, etc., then these are very, very good. I love them. What are they for? Just a little bit of tarting up at the end. That's all. And of course, always on my stand, I have a wire brush, not two, one. Not really to do the horse's foot, although I do use them occasionally when it's winter time, and to get off all the crap off the foot, all the mud, etc. I mainly use my wire brushes to clean my tools, particularly my rasp, because in between hooves, sometimes if it's quite dirty, I will clean out those little tangs. I don't know what we're calling them. Teeth. That'll do. I use them to clean out the teeth, and you need to do that. And I haven't put on here, but WD-40 or something similar is absolutely perfect. Okay, this is a hoof pick, and that is what you need. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. That's always on my hoof pick. Not that one. I use slightly different. I had a precision pick which had like numbers on it, but it got nicked by Asher, and I've never seen it since. Right, where do I go? I'm over here. I need to stop sharing. Wait a moment. Stop sharing. There we go. Stop sharing. Okay, so that's it. We've gone through the essential trimming tools. I've explained them all. You need to know, but remember, you've got to learn from somebody who knows how to do this. I fully, completely support you trimming. If you're going to go away and trim, I love it. I want owners to learn this stuff, but don't mess about with feet, because that's how horses get into so much trouble. Please, please get the right advice. And if you're getting advice from people who have made this up, PPT, and they're giving you lots of very convincing words, but they're doing things to horses' feet that you really shouldn't, and you don't feel comfortable with, and it's a method, then you shouldn't be doing it. We are not a method. We do not make it up. It's not PPT, personal preference trimming. This is following the horse's natural parameters. And when you learn to do that, it's easy. It should be easy. So familiarize yourself with the anatomy, get in the Phoenix group, learn all of that first before you start picking up trimming tools, because I have seen so many awful hooves by owners who have, and not just owners, hoof care professionals too, who are just following methods, flip-flopping in between methods because they don't really understand what they're really doing. Watch my It's Not Rocket Science lessons. Watch a lot of our lessons and free stuff we've got on YouTube. Get on the challenges because it will transform you. And before you know it, you'll be wanting to become a pro with us. That's just how it goes. So learn from us, learn from a professional who really knows what they're doing, but somebody who is doing it, guidelines from nature's horseshoe, nature's constants, Mother Nature's constants, the horse's natural parameters. Okay. Practice on cadaver hooves. That's why we practice on cadaver hooves. Keep your tools maintained. Look after them. Sharpen them. Spray them. Clean them. Wrap them up in towels. Keep them nice for next time. And be patient with yourself because it's important. So today's takeaway: have the right tools and the willingness to learn. These are the steps, the first steps towards empowering yourself in hoof care. If you start with the basics, you keep practicing, because you're not going to get it right straight away, you can play an active role in your horse's hoof health. So for today's challenge, go have a look on the internet. Go and see if you can find some of the tools that I've been talking about. Have a look at your own kit. Be honest with yourself. Are they sharp enough? Are they good enough? All the essentials we've talked about today. If you identify a tool that you don't need, really, or you just got it because you're being a bit nerdy, don't use it. Don't use it just because you've got it. The basic ones are knife, rasp, nippers, hoof pick, and wire brush. Those are what I have on my stand always, and nothing else. So thank you very much. I'm sorry I can't do more shout outs because honestly, I'm well over as it is. So thank you very much. We're now starting the next 50 topics, all about helping the owner with trimming, understanding more about that kind of education. We've looked at anatomy. We've looked at all kinds of things. If you found this series really interesting, if you found it valuable, please stay with me. Please support me on this 365-day journey. And remember, like, share, follow, subscribe, do all of those things. Tag a friend. Every step that you take in learning and caring for your horse brings you closer and closer to a stronger partnership and better, healthier hooves. So until next time, take care of yourself, my lovelies, and your horse. Next time's tomorrow. And I'll see you then. Normal time. The Phoenix Way, folks, is about rising stronger together. So see you soon. Bye-bye now. Bye.